Hi, Ernest Chalakis here from Numerical Sound. I am pleased to announce the release of ReStereo, a rack extension plugin that transforms any mono track into stereo. Works with both Reason and Reason Essentials. With ReStereo, you can select from one of 25 acoustically accurate stereo fields and apply it to any of your mono tracks. Adds depth, clarity, and a sense of emotional immediacy to any track such as guitar, voice, drums, or sax. Also heightens any synthesizer track by giving it a truer sense of acoustic realism in the mix. ReStereo's strength is that it does not sound like an effect, but instead a better recording. In the following demos, don't listen for the so-called stereo effect. Instead, focus on the fullness, naturalism, and transparency of the overall sound. ReStereo is unique because unlike most effects plugins, it can be applied to virtually every mono track, giving your overall mix a much more three-dimensional quality. Another special property of ReStereo is that it can add a sense of space without smearing the transients that applying reverb does. This ability to maintain clarity has been exploited by many well-known audio engineers. For example, Bruce Swedian, while working on Michael Jackson's album Thriller, recorded each track, including the voice, in stereo. ReStereo is not limited by genre. From classical to contemporary, from rock to rap, from acoustic to electronic, this type of processing can unlock the true potential of your mono tracks. All ReStereo patches create a stereo field that preserves the bass frequencies, even if both channels are summed back into mono. Audiophile quality is ensured with no comb or notch filter effects in the audio spectrum. Here are 5 examples. First, the mono track, followed by the ReStereo version. Ozone 5's meter bridge is used to display the spectrum and the phase changes. The vectorscope meter is in the upper right-hand corner. It displays how wide the stereo field is. For mono, it is a simple vertical line. When the input is stereo, the width of the stereo field is reflected by the width of the vectorscope. I recommend listening to these demos using either headphones or properly configured studio monitors. First, here is the mono saxophone track, followed by the ReStereo version. Now with ReStereo. First, here is a female singer in mono, followed by a ReStereo version.
Everybody, yeah. Let me see you dance, let me see you move, baby.
Now with ReStereo.
Everybody, yeah. Let me see you dance, let me see you move, baby.
First, here is the mono synthesizer track, followed by the ReStereo version. Now with ReStereo. First, here is a distorted guitar track, followed by a ReStereo version. Now with ReStereo. First, here is a mono kick, snare, and hi-hat track, followed by a separate ReStereo on each of these instruments. Now with ReStereo. A single microphone does not accurately capture what we hear because each ear does not receive the exact same sound. Direct and reflected sound waves take different times to reach each ear. It is primarily these small timing differences and relative loudness in each ear that our brain uses to determine the precise location of a sound source. ReStereo accurately simulates these timing differences. The sound source example in this case is a saxophone. The dark red oval shape in the middle of the screen is the total stereo field. The yellow band is the listener's perceived size of the saxophone stereo field. As the listener approaches the saxophone, the instrument sounds louder, but more importantly, the size of the saxophone stereo field also increases. When recording an instrument in mono, using just the pan in a digital audio sequencer's mixer to position it in the stereo field, the result is a stereo width that is just a thin slit when played back. The mono stereo field is artificial and not how we actually perceive a sound. ReStereo addresses this shortfall. Mono is similar to listening sideways to a sound source. Here is a typical pop mix instrument soundstage with mono tracks only. ReStereo preserves the rhythmic clarity and sounds natural, unlike standard studio effects like reverb, delay, and chorusing that will create stereo but unfortunately mask some of the material's rhythmic clarity. The next graph illustrates the impact ReStereo has on a soundstage of each individual instrument. This illustrates a true three-dimensional soundstage when using ReStereo. Notice how each individual instrument has a unique stereo image represented as a yellow band. The wet-dry knob controls the amount of this stereo effect. The stereo width knob controls the actual width of the stereo field. The pan knob controls the position of the stereo image in the stereo field.